Angela Merkel, formerly known as Angela Dorothea Kastner, is a German politician who was Chancellor of Germany from 2005 to 2021. She was born on July 17, 1954, in Hamburg, West Germany. She was the second longest-serving chancellor in German history and the first woman to hold the position. If this is your first time, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more politicians' biographies and stories. Just weeks after Merkel was born, her family moved to East Germany, German Democratic Republic, as her father accepted a pastorate in Quitzow, Brandenburg, after completing his study. They relocated once more to Templin in 1957, where Merkel graduated from high school in 1973. Later that year, she moved to Leipzig to attend Karl Marx University, which is now known as the University of Leipzig, to study physics. There, she met Ulrich Merkel, a fellow physics student, with whom she later got married. Their union took place in 1977. She joined the academic staff at the Central Institute of Physical Chemistry of the Academy of Sciences in East Berlin after receiving her diploma in 1978. Merkel and her husband separated in 1982, although she kept his last name. Merkel took part in state-sponsored youth activities. She joined the Free German Youth in 1968 and the Young Pioneers in 1962. Subscribe to this channel for more political biographies and stories. Merkel joined the newly formed Democratic Awakening following the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, and in February 1990 she was appointed the party's press secretary. In that same month, the party allied with the German Social Union, DSU, and the Christian Democratic Union, CDU, to form the Conservative Alliance for Germany. Merkel was appointed the government of Lothar de Maizière's, CDU, deputy spokesperson. She joined the CDU in August 1990. On October 1, the day before Germany's reunification, that party merged with its Western counterpart. In the first post-unification election, held in December 1990, Merkel secured a seat for Stralsund-Trudgen-Grimmen in the Bundestag, lower house of parliament. Helmut Kohl, the chancellor, appointed her Minister of Women and Youth in January 1991. Merkel was appointed Environment, Conservation, and Reactor Safety Minister after the 1994 election, and she oversaw the first UN climate conference in Berlin in March-April 1995. The Social Democratic Party of Germany, SPD, and Gerhard Schroeder overthrew the CDU in September 1998. On November 7, Merkel was chosen as the CDU's General Secretary. On December 30 of that year, she wed the chemistry professor Joachim Sauer, her lifelong partner. Subscribe to this channel for more political biographies and stories. Schroeder called for an early general election to be conducted in September 2005 as SPD support dwindled, and the outcome was essentially a tie. By just 1%, the CDU-CSU defeated the SPD, which was in power, to win 35.2% of the vote. In an effort to establish a government, both parties looked for allies, but months of talks came to nothing. The CDU-CSU and SPD ultimately decided on a grand coalition administration with Merkel as its leader. Merkel became chancellor on November 22, 2005, making history as the first woman, the first East German, and, at age 51, the youngest person to ever hold the position. During the parliamentary elections held on September 27, 2009, her term was unequivocally extended. Merkel was able to build a government with her preferred ally, the classically liberal Free Democratic Party, FDP, despite the SPD posting its lowest score since 1949. Merkel's personal involvement in the reaction to the Eurozone debt crisis served as a major defining feature of her second term. Along with Nicolas Sarkozy, the president of France, Merkel promoted austerity as the solution for the ailing economies of Europe. The implementation of a fiscal compact in January 2013 that obligated participating nations to maintain particular balanced budget goals was Merkel's most notable achievement in that. The CDU-CSU alliance achieved an overwhelming victory in the September 2013 federal election, garnering about 42% of the vote, falling just shy of an absolute majority. Merkel faced the prospect of forming a government with either the SPD or the Green Party, both of whom were likely to be reluctant partners, as her coalition partner, the FDP, fell short of the 5% requirement for representation. Merkel and the SPD reached an agreement to establish another broad coalition government after more than 2 months of talks. After Konrad Adenauer and Kohl, she became Germany's third three-time chancellor on December 17. Subscribe to this channel for more political biographies and stories. In 2015, more than 1 million migrants arrived in Germany, and Merkel's party suffered politically as a result of her position on refugees. The right-wing Alternative for Germany, AfD, was one of the parties to take advantage of the increasing tide of populism and xenophobia in Europe as the backlash against immigration manifested itself in street protests and at the polls. The successful Yes campaign in the UK's Brexit referendum, June 2016, and Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential election, November 2016, were both fueled by appeals to nationalism elsewhere, but Merkel maintained her centrist stance as she declared her intention to run for a 4th term. Merkel won her 4th term as chancellor in the 2017 election, but not without much doubt and effort. Subscribe to this channel for more political biographies and stories. Merkel promised to reach out to former conservative supporters of the AfD. In November, negotiations with the FDP broke down, and the possibility of new elections grew. Merkel obviously did not look forward to such a prospect, as seen by the SPD vote in December to begin talks with the CDU-CSU on preserving the Grand Coalition. Following the conclusion of the negotiations in February 2018, Merkel gave the SPD the influential finance and foreign affairs posts. Merkel promised to reach out to conservative voters who had switched to the AfD, and SPD leader Martin Schulz announced that his party will rejoin the opposition, putting an end to any talk of forming another grand coalition. When Germany was still without a government after several months of negotiations, Schulz eventually changed his mind. In November, negotiations with the FDP broke down, and the possibility of new elections grew. Merkel obviously did not look forward to such a prospect, as seen by the SPD vote in December to begin talks with the CDU-CSU on preserving the Grand Coalition. Following the conclusion of the negotiations in February 2018, Merkel gave the SPD the influential finance and foreign affairs posts. Merkel's approach to governance has been defined by pragmatism, notwithstanding the criticism that her strategy lacks a distinct stance and ideology. She made it clear that she was open to adopt the ideologies of her political rivals if they proved to be rational and well-liked. If this is your first time, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more political biographies and stories.